Welcome Review Tims LL. In today's video, we will be going through the movie Hunter Killer. It's time to review, so let's get started. Spoilers ahead. The movie begins with the USS Tomba Bay submarine shadowing a Russian submarine, Konyak, in the Arctic. It remains undetected despite being just 400 yards away from the other submarine. Moments later, the personnel from the US submarine heard a loud explosion. They are under attack not by the Russian submarine, but by another unknown submarine right above them. They try to take the submarine down to 700 feet, but it's too late as a torpedo is already seconds away from impact. The US submarine is hit, and all personnel are killed. Admiral John Fisk is informed that the USS Tomba Bay is missing. This is alarming as the submarine has no issues with its radio, and there's no reported bad weather in the area. The submarine is now 2 hours away from check-in. Fisk informs Admiral Charles Donegan about the situation. Donegan is more concerned about the classified system on the submarine. Fisk reminds him that there are 110 men on board as well. They have no idea yet that the submarine has been attacked, and all the men on board are killed. Joe Glass receives a call while hunting. He's told to stand down as a helicopter will take him to the base. He arrives at the base as USS Arkansas is prepared for him to command. He is tasked with locating the missing US submarine. XO Brian Edwards hands over an envelope containing the order from the 6th Fleet. After reading the contents, Captain Joe Glass orders Edwards to recall the crew as they will be leaving soon. Edwards explains that the crew was given a 2-day pass, and that it's impossible to locate all of them. Glass finds it unacceptable and volunteers to help the officer look for the crew. After all, there are only 2 clubs in the area. It shouldn't be that hard to find them. Glass submarine is being prepared, and torpedoes are loaded. He then goes inside to check the crew and equipment. Glass announces their mission to locate the missing warship submarine and sets expectations on how he will run the ship. Everyone is expected to follow his orders. He is a maverick, and he will push his men beyond their limits if needed to complete the mission. Jane Norquist of the National Security Agency approaches Admiral Fisk and lets him know that she needs to brief the President in under an hour. She tried to obtain information from the Navy, but she failed. Fisk mentions that 2 explosions were observed from the Kola Peninsula right at the location where the US submarine is missing. Norquist mentions that they have been keeping tabs on the Russian president. He left with his core security on their way to the location where the explosion happened. He and his team left before the explosions occurred. He is supposed to have a meeting with his defense minister, Durov. Glass was informed by Cobb that the crew was on board and ready to go. He tried to give Glass a good luck coin for this mission, but Glass refused it. He only carried 1 coin in his pocket, the one he got from his previous submarine. USS Arkansas was now headed to the Barents Sea. Glass commanded the sub to submerge and set the depth to 300 feet. Zakharin, the Russian president, arrived at the Polyerny naval base to have a meeting with his defense minister, Durov. Durov confirmed that Washington made contact and also informed him that they waited for his arrival before responding. The USS Arkansas submarine was now 40 miles from the Russian coast. Glass warned his men that they might not be the first one in the area and ordered the deployment of the C-scan. It did not take long for the device to detect something. When the C-scan got closer, the wrecked US submarine was found, and the dead bodies of the personnel were also discovered. Glass asked Jimenez, the operator, to move the C-scan towards the bow to find out what destroyed the submarine. Glass was shocked to see a huge hole apparently from a torpedo attack. He then ordered them to man their battle stations and asked one soldier to draft a message that said USS Tomba Bay was sunk by enemy action. A weird sound was picked up by the C-scan, which appeared to come from above them. They did not know that it was a submarine with torpedoes waiting to wreak havoc. The Russians then launched 2 torpedoes, but the USS Arkansas submarine was able to get away by using evasion devices. Glass ordered to launch their own attack, but they could not locate the exact location of their target due to a lot of interference on the surface. The Russian submarine was strategically positioned in between icebergs. After another attempt to scan its location, they were able to pinpoint it this time. The torpedo was then redirected, and it hit the target this time. The Russian submarine was destroyed. The USS Arkansas was not out of harm yet as 2 torpedoes were still headed their way. Glass needed to come up with a strategy to prevent getting hit, so he ordered to take the submarine to the location of USS Tomba Bay. The 2 torpedoes were now closing in, and right when they were about to hit USS Arkansas, the submarine was maneuvered hard to the right, and the torpedoes hit the Tomba Bay submarine instead. The explosion was still destructive enough for them to feel the effect from the inside, and that could have been the end of them all. The Russian president was informed that their submarine had been sunk by the Americans. Druoff suggested that they respond immediately and retaliate, but Zakharin was not able to commit at this time as he wanted to speak with the U.S. president first. Meanwhile, the message from USS Arkansas had reached Admiral Fisk, and they now knew that USS Tomba Bay was deliberately attacked by the Russians. Fisk receives the green light from Admiral Charles Donegan to move the closest carrier battle group into position. Donegan also informs him that he had already dispatched special operators, a Navy SEAL team under the command of Lieutenant Bill Beeman, to Russia to determine Zakharin's intentions. The SEAL team lands at their target location, but one of them is injured. However, they manage to safely position themselves. A surveillance device is then deployed, but they are unable to obtain clear footage due to heavy interference in the area. Moments later, they manage to eliminate the interference and spot Druoff, who seems to be on a mission of his own. Zakharin is surprised to see the destroyer being deployed as that was not his order. Druoff informs him that they may be under attack, and as a security precaution, he sealed off the base and shut down all communications. This is when Zakharin realizes that Druoff is carrying out a coup d'état. Zakharin and his men are then taken outside, where they are executed. The SEAL team and the officers monitoring the live footage witness the incident. The president is briefed on the situation, and Donegan suggests that they do not allow Druoff to gain a tactical advantage. However, Norquist has a different perspective. She believes that they are dealing with a power-hungry minister, and Druoff wants the Americans to engage. Fisk suggests that they rescue the Russian president and take him to Moscow, where he can retain his position and put an end to the coup d'état. Fisk reminds them that they already have a team in position to make this happen. The president orders the carrier fleet to move into position in case there is a need to confront Druoff. The president is already considering Fisk's suggestion to rescue the Russian president. The sea scan is launched again, and this time, it locates the sunken Russian submarine, Cognac. Glass and his men are surprised to see a massive hole on the bow, which appears to be from a torpedo attack. However, USS Tampa Bay did not fire at anyone. Further investigation shows that the attack came from inside the submarine, indicating that it was intentionally destroyed to make it look like it was attacked by the Americans. Glass wants to rescue the survivors, but his men are not enthusiastic about the plan as they still believe that Cognac destroyed Tampa Bay and killed the American soldiers. They are concerned that the Russians may be heading their way as well after their submarine was destroyed earlier. Glass points out that if the Russians had nothing to hide, they would have already rescued Cognac. Glass now knows that the Russians are behind the attack on their own submarine. He orders to launch the Mystic so that some men can get closer to the Russian submarine. The Mystic faces difficulty landing due to heavy currents but safely attaches itself to the submarine. When they open the latch, 3 Russian survivors are almost on the verge of dying due to the cold and are suffering from hypothermia. Glass welcomes them aboard and orders that they be checked by a doctor. Glass also wants the captain of the Russian submarine to be isolated. Until he receives an order from his officers, the Russian survivors are prisoners of war. Glass informs his men that they have been ordered to go to the Polyerny base, which is heavily defended by destroyers, but their help is badly needed now. Their task is to pick up the Navy SEAL team and rescue the Russian president, Zakharin, who is now under the custody of Druoff. Approaching Polyerny without being detected is going to be a huge challenge for them, no matter how careful they are. They need a local navigator, and that's where Glass decides to speak with the Russian captain they rescued earlier. The Russian captain still believes that the Americans destroyed their submarine. Glass shows him evidence that the submarine blew up from the inside out and also tells him that they need his help to rescue Zakharin. Captain Andropov now takes control of the submarine as he knows the area better than anybody. Edwards is furious about this plan and finds it reckless as they will be exposing classified information. Despite the protest, Glass gives Andropov the authority. He is then able to take the submarine safely where it's supposed to be. Glass then sends 2 men to rescue the SEAL team and the Russian president. The SEAL team advances its position and rescues Zakharin. One of them is killed, and 2 of the soldiers take the president where Mystic is waiting. One soldier is killed as he guides Zakharin to the Mystic, and the other soldier returns to the shore to rescue the other soldier left behind. USS Arkansas detects a heavy screw beat, and Captain Andropov tells them that it's the Russian warship. It then starts attacking them. Andropov and Glass work together to survive the onslaught of the Russians. The submarine is taken to the seafloor, and while that move allows them to get away temporarily, it also damages some parts of Arkansas. Warship Yevchenko is now moments away from locking in on the submarine. They don't have a choice but to let Captain Andropov speak with the men on the warship. After all, he trained these men. He tells them that he's on board the U.S. submarine. The captain of Yevchenko receives a call from Druoff, who demands he destroy Arkansas. The movie ends with Glass receiving a direct order from Admiral Donegan to fire at Yevchenko. A standoff ensues, and moments later, Polyerny Naval Base launches missile attacks against Arkansas through the directive of Durov. They are intercepted by Yevchenko seconds before impact. The warship then launches a missile attack on its own, targeting Polyerny, where Durov is commanding, and the place is heavily destroyed. Thanks for watching. As always, you'll find the movie title in the description of the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next awesome review.